My name is Mohammed Almazi. This is a Truth Defense News in Brief. Julian Assange's extradition to the United States may be imminent. On the 6th of June, High Court Judge Sir Jonathan Swift refused Assange's 2 applications to appeal his extradition to the United States, which his lawyers filed in August last year. Assange's legal team filed a second set of appeals to the High Court in London, asking for a 2-judge panel to hear their arguments. A decision on whether the appeal will be heard at all is expected any day now. Julian Assange faces a maximum of 175 years in prison in the US for his role in receiving and publishing the Iraq war logs, Afghanistan war diaries, Guantanamo Bay detainee files, and US diplomatic cables. These documents exposed rape, torture, murder of civilians, unlawful surveillance, and abuse of governmental authority. The WikiLeaks founder has won over 24 journalistic awards for his work over the years. If Assange is tried in the US, he'll face a jury made up of national security employees or their family, and will not be entitled to raise a defense for publishing these documents. It will be the first time in history that a publisher will be prosecuted by the US government under the 100-year-old Espionage Act. This case represents the extraterritorial application of domestic US law against a non-US publisher for publishing government documents while he was entirely based outside of the US, and that plenty of other outlets also published. Australian MP Andrew Wilkie made the following statement on behalf of the parliamentary Julian Assange group, quote, "It's deeply disappointing that the UK High Court has denied Julian Assange the right to appeal his extradition to the US. Wilkie continued, "Mr. Assange is an Australian citizen and journalist whose matter should not even be before a court, as the case has always been intensely political. Enough is enough. The US must drop the extradition and discontinue these charges immediately, and the Australian government must continue to speak up and push for an immediate end to this matter, as Julian's life is at stake." Andrew Wilkie is a former soldier and intelligence officer who blew the whistle regarding lies told by the Australian, US, and UK governments during the run-up to the illegal invasion of Iraq in 2003. There is real concern that Julian may be forcibly extradited soon, even though legally he is entitled to appeal any final decision from the UK courts to the European Court of Human Rights. Award-winning journalist Chris Hedges explains Assange's current situation in his article, "The Imminent Extradition of Julian Assange and the Death of Journalism," which Truth Defense has republished on its website with Chris Hedges' permission. In the latest example of rising censorship in the UK, the world-famous Glastonbury Music Festival has cancelled the scheduled screening of the documentary Oh, Jeremy Corbyn, The Big Lie. Glastonbury's decision followed a sustained smear campaign against the film and its creators. Producer of The Big Lie, Norman Thomas, hit back against claims of anti-Semitism. He noted that, quote, "Most of the principal commentators in the film are actually Jewish, so by banning this film, the festival is actually banning Jews," end quote. Britain's largest union, Unite, has also now banned the film from being shown in Portsmouth following an incredibly successful viewing of The Big Lie at its union branch in Bristol. Unite's regional secretary, Sarah Carpenter, cancelled 2 planned showings of the film in Unite's regional headquarters in Portsmouth this month. Local members passed a motion condemning the move and saying, in part, "It is not the purpose of union officials to try and control what members are allowed to see, nor is it within their remit to try to cancel basic rights of free speech by branches and members." The motion also rejects the idea that the issues in the film are internal to the Labour Party and not relevant to Unite members. The film is about the orchestrated attack on Jeremy Corbyn and the socialist leadership of the Labour Party from 2015 to 2019, the branch member said. The local Unite members also declared that since Keir Starmer has taken over the leadership, the Labour Party has become a neoliberal party whose policies are indistinguishable from that of the Tory party. You can read the full article at squawkbox.org. After Glastonbury cancelled the film, Naomi Wimborne-Idrissi of Jewish Voice of Labour explained, quote, "Among those demanding cancellation of the film were the right-wing anti-Palestinian racists of the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, the Board of Deputies of British Jews, and anti-Corbyn turncoat Paul Mason," end quote. The documentary, which was narrated by Jewish comedian and writer Alexei Sayle, addresses the false anti-Semitism accusations levied against Corbyn and others within the party when he was Labour leader.
You not see apologies. Rewriting history. Nobody can fail to see that this was a concerted, orchestrated campaign.
Senior officials in headquarters were actively working against Labour.
He can't see what we're doing with digital spend.
So what did the Labour Party do to you?
Ruin my life. Politically, they tried to.
In related, if not more upbeat note, Pink Floyd's former lead singer Roger Waters successfully resisted multiple attempts to cancel his concerts in Frankfurt and then again in Manchester and London. The rock legend completed the European leg of his farewell tour, This Is Not a Drill, earlier this month. The venue in Frankfurt argued in court that they could not let Waters' show go ahead as they had originally agreed because he dresses up in a Nazi uniform as part of his performance. However, this is something Waters has been doing as part of his performances since the 1980s, and anyone familiar with his work will be fully aware that this represents a critique of fascism, not an endorsement of it.
And also, just so people know, you don't dress up as him in a pro-Himmler or pro-Nazi way. It's a scathing critique. You are playing a villainous character.
It's a parody. And the court looked at all the evidence and they understood that. And in their decision that I could not be banned from playing in the Festhalle, they said what he's doing is he is warning us with this parody of the kind of behavior that we know happened during National Socialism, and saying, look, it's very easy for populist politics to develop into fascism. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. It's happening in the United States, i.e. Trump, and anything that might come after him, and what's going on now with the way government works in the US. And it's obviously with, what's her name, Claudia Meloni, and it's happened with Orban in Hungary. And it's
Bolsonaro.
And Bolsonaro in Brazil and blah, blah, blah. So it's really dangerous. So it's very, very legitimate part of the work of theatre to point out how dangerous this is. And that's what I'm doing. And the court recognized that.
Waters posted a video on Twitter refuting the attacks on him. Twitter appeared to block the video after it had been viewed hundreds of thousands of times with no explanation, but the video then became viewable again following public criticism.
Some fucking Labour MP in Manchester, Christian Wakefield. This is a guy who was a Tory, and he's now switched sides. He's now in Sir Keir Starmer's Labour Party. I hope I meet you face to face in Manchester when I do my gig there, because you, Christian, I've forgotten your name already, and I will permanently soon, because you're scum. You are trying to get me banned from performing in Manchester. Me, the bloke that wrote Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here and Animals and The Wall and The Final Cut. And I'm really proud of it, and it's a huge body of work. And he wants to cancel my rock and roll show for my brothers and sisters in Manchester. It's insane. If we shout the lie loud enough, Roger Waters is an anti-Semite, we'll be all right. We'll get people to believe it. We can vilify him. We can probably destroy him. And we will get him in the end. Well, no, you won't. Because it is a lie. You can gather as many fucking morons together as you want to repeat your lie, but it remains a vicious lie.
Waters is a well-known anti-fascist and anti-racist. He is also a vocal supporter for the Palestinian right to self-determination and has been openly critical of Israel's apartheid state and its ethnic cleansing of the native Palestinian population. Waters has also publicly backed the Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions, or BDS movement, which targets institutions complicit in Israel's crimes against humanity. Sir Keir Starmer, the current late leader of the UK Labour Party, joined the bandwagon of those smearing Waters. In a letter to the Board of Deputies of British Jews, Starmer condemned what he described as Waters, quote, spreading anti-Semitic views, end quote. The Board of Deputies is a communal organization which also acts as a pro-Zionist lobby group. Starmer is a former human rights barrister and former member of the Haldane Society of Socialist Lawyers. He would later be appointed Chief Prosecutor for England and Wales, where he served for 5 years until 2013. Starmer's transition from left-wing human rights lawyer into neoliberal establishment politician was cemented after he was elected as a Labour Party MP in 2015. In 2021, after Starmer became Labour leader, Haldane passed a motion banning Starmer from ever rejoining the Society of Socialist Lawyers on the basis of his support for quote-unquote appalling policy positions. The positions which Haldane cited include Starmer's failure to support the trade union movement, despite being the head of the Labour Party, a party literally co-founded by organised labour, Starmer's whipping MPs to vote for a law pushed by Tory Home Secretary Priti Patel, which allows officials and undercover assets to commit crimes with impunity across the UK. Haldane also cited Starmer's inaction on anti-Black and anti-Muslim racism within the party, and Starmer's, quote, presiding over a system of control that curtails democratic processes and silences left-wing and pro-Palestinian voices within the party, end quote. In artificial intelligence, surveillance, and civil liberties news, the European Parliament voted last week to ban real-time facial surveillance in public spaces.
We do not want governments to be able to identify everyone in every moment, to record where we walk, which places we visit, or who we talk to in the streets.
The EU's proposed law is the AI, or Artificial Intelligence Act, which will be the world's first law on artificial intelligence. The ban in the law offered cause for celebration by privacy, human rights, and democracy campaigners. The European Pirate Party, yes, that's what they're called, did note, however, that automated behavioral surveillance was not banned by a narrow majority of votes. As a result, the EU Parliament will be entering into further negotiations with the EU governments over that issue. Encryption continues to be under attack by European governments, according to a leaked EU document. Markus Reuter of the German news and digital rights outlet Netzpolitik.org reveals that the EU Council presidency is setting up an advisory body to find a way to undermine encryption. On this topic, Patrick Breyer, a Pirate Party member of the EU Parliament, said in a statement, quote, I call on the EU Commission to stop this anti-encryption and anti-anonymity working group at once. This is an attack on everything that keeps us safe online. The right to encryption protects whistleblowers, human rights defenders, pro-democracy activists, and in fact, all citizens from prosecution and harm. The right to anonymity ensures free speech and access to information. It protects us from data breaches, identity theft, and stalking, end quote. Truth Defense readers may be aware of our recent analysis of a separate leaked EU report warning that a proposed law to tackle child abuse material online will destroy encryption and lead to a state of, quote, permanent surveillance of all interpersonal communications, end quote. That's a verbatim quote from the EU's own legal experts. If encryption is undermined, the result would be that the ability of hundreds of millions of people to have secure and private conversations, including via Signal, Telegram, and WhatsApp, would be eliminated. Even though the UK has left the European Union, this legal advice remains incredibly relevant to Brits as well. This is because the UK Parliament is pushing through a similar law called the Online Safety Harms Bill. The Online Harms Bill is designed to censor an incredibly broad list of materials. See the Truth Defense website for more details on that story. And in an incredibly disturbing revelation in the United States, Keir, the Council on American Islamic Relations, released a new report on the 12th of June based on a leaked copy of the FBI's so-called no-fly list. Keir have determined that over 1.47 million human beings on the no-fly list are in fact Muslims. Put another way, 98% of people on the US no-fly list are Muslims. Truth Defense will continue publishing articles, analysis, videos, and interviews on subjects like these via truthdefense.org and via our social media accounts. All the news items referred to in this briefing will be linked to on the Truth Defense website below this video. Please consider donating via truthdefense.org/join. This was a Truth Defense News and Brief. Until the next time, goodbye.